I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Monday edition of Conversations with Al McFarlane. Let me get my camera adjusted here. Hold on. Microphone is folding and the camera is sliding, but I'm catching it all here. There we go. And adjust upwards. There we go. So, good afternoon again. It's Monday afternoon, Monday, April 25th, 2022. This is the Monday edition of Conversations with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to have you along. See my friend and colleague, companion, Dee Phillips is here from the Hawthorne Neighborhood Association. Others will be joining us, we hope. But we also have Brother Miles Wilson here. And Miles is one of the leaders and spokespersons for the Young Persons Task Force. And that group stands for in its logo. It says injustice. We stand against injustice. Lofty, powerful, positive images and goals. Well, the Young People's Task Force is having its first annual Youth Summit. It's coming up this weekend, starting on April 29th. A 3-day event goes through May 1. It's sponsored and hosted by the YMCA and Minnesota Safe Streets. Hopefully Al Flowers will be joining us and other members of the group might join us over the course of this program today. But the program is going to feature presentations by Deanna Perkins, who's the new executive director, I believe, at the North YMCA, PJ Hill, State Representative Esther Agbaje, Alicia Smith, who's a park board commissioner and leader over at the Corcoran Neighborhood Association, also representatives of the NAACP Youth. It's an event that is going to be, I think, full of fun activities, games, and activities for people to engage, training, instruction, discussions around financial literacy, and young people developmental building seminars. And it's going to end with a job fair and a barbecue on Sunday, May 1st. For more information, I'll be posting this in the chat. Reach out to www.youngpeoplestaskforcemn.com. Brother Miles, good to see you, man. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you. So tell me about, let's go into this. I always like to go back and give people the Young People's Task Force 101, back to the basics, right? Because somebody might not have heard us last time or seen us last time, but everybody got to be concerned and committed to supporting the work of young people who are stepping up to the plate and shouldering, asking to, and in fact, insisting on shouldering their share of the responsibility for the co-creation of our future. So just give us a 101, the foundation and the principles of the Young People's Task Force.
Definitely, yeah. Foundation and the principles of the Young People's Task Force. I mean, we bring this back to emphasizing young people's voices. The Young People's Task Force was created in October of 2020. And it started based off the recognition of bringing young people's voices to the table, making sure they're heard. You know, we saw the aftermath of George Floyd and the protests, and as impactful as they were, you know, we needed a sense of direction to bring those voices to the table of our elected officials, of our leaders of the city, to make sure that decisions were made with the inclusion of young people at the table, as we are the future of the city.
And so how many people came together to create this group, and how many are you sort of at the core? And describe who the players are. I mean, what I understand, what I see when I talk to you, and I've been to an event of yours, one, I think in person, maybe one virtually, but I see a group of people that are both friends and young and serious, you know, and I think everybody brings their own personality, their own story, maybe their own personal motivation, but there's a common thread that unites all of you in service to each other and in service to your families and in service to community and in service to the future. So describe who some of the people were that joined you in creating this? And from your point of view, why they showed up? Why did you show up, first of all? And why did they show up from your point of view?
Absolutely. So our team consists of about 10 key point players, as we are calling ourselves. So it consists of myself, uh, Al Flowers Jr., AJ Flowers, Nicholas Martins, Anthony McMorris Rice, and then we have some younger players who are younger than us. We have Laziah Smith. We have his name is Shamarki. I don't have his last name, unfortunately. I apologize. Aisha, Rakaya, Hamza, Afnan, and Ahmed. And so starting with myself, why I showed up was, again, I mean, being young myself, having being in the city of Minneapolis, and again seeing the impact of what the young people can do when we come together, in terms of our voices being heard. Like I said, I felt like we just needed a sense of direction, and so with the guidance of UCMT, the Unity Community Mediation Team, and the leadership there, and the elders there, they helped shape, traction for me, and they helped shape, decision making, and being resourceful, as well as being, kind of considerate of how I'm operating, how I'm moving within, our communities. Our other team, Al Flowers Jr., Nicholas Martins, Anthony McMorris Rice, I feel like have that similar direction. Is that we understand the impact of our voices together, as we are on the little bit older age of our group, but we also want to
And when you
help.
say older, it makes me smile. How old are you guys, man?
27, 28, 29. So
Boy,
are the three ages between the
that
four of
warms
us.
my heart when you start saying 27, 28 is older. That's amazing. I see my buddy Al Flowers is here, and I'm old compared to Al Flowers. So you guys are really young, and it's wonderful. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, so being on that upper age range of our group, like I mentioned, getting the guidance from our UCMT leaders, our Unity Community Mediation Team leaders, and passing that down, helping our younger team members, such as Laziah, Rakaya, who are on the age of 14, 15, and then Aisha, Ahmed, Afnan, Hamza, and Shamarki are all between 16 and 18. And helping them, kind of figure out their paths, but also helping them to understand what it's like to maneuver and operate in the systems, of being at the table, bringing your voice to the table, and playing that game of kind of chess. That's what I've kind of figured out about this. Is it's a kind of a chess game of knowing when to hold them, when to fold them, and so teaching them those lessons, and passing it forward.
I see you, and I want you to address this as a legacy player. Uh, I can tell you that your family is an institution, and you carry on great work that your family has been known for and is known for. And I would be remiss in not asking you to talk about the shoulders you're standing on, not only in community, but in your personal family. So take a minute and reflect on the people in your lineage that helped shape you into the leader that you are today.
Definitely. So my grandfather, and as a matter of fact, it's not just my grandfather, but Nicholas Martins, who is also a co-chair of a Unity Community Media, or I'm sorry, the Young People's Task Force. Our grandfather is Ray Island, who, from what I've learned, more so through this work now than I have before, has played a role in racial equity and racial equality. And he was an executive at Pillsbury, in the affirmative action, played a role in that, and really put his foot into standing for the community. And it's interesting because I've told this story before. Is that he passed away when Nick and I were both 10, and so at that time, we just looked at him as Grandpa Ray. He wasn't the superhero that we've heard about now, but um, we kind of had a basic understanding of what he's done. And so now, being in the position that we're in, it almost feels like it's a natural situation, a natural path of life. It comes to the point of saying, that I feel like it's almost something that I'm supposed to do. Um, just based off of that, because I've never had that conversation. Now I look back on it and wish that I was at this age now, and was able to have those conversations with him about his experiences, his trials, his tribulations, the work that he had to put in. Because there's times when you get to a point where you kind of feel almost defeated, and you kind of like look for that motivation to push you forward. But like almost naturally, there's like this push and this drive that kind of that fire within me. And I would speak to that and say that I almost feel that that's him, kind of possessing me and saying, we got to keep moving, we got to keep working, because of all the stories that I've heard about what he has done, what he did do, and kind of his imprint on racial equality and racial equity.
Your grandfather was working for the federal government before he went to Pillsbury, and he was doing equity work in the federal government. And he was one of the first wave of Black men and women to break into corporate America when things began to open up in the 60s, early 60s. So he was a pioneer in every sense of the word, and fearless, competent, smart, thoughtful, and had a powerful personality. So he was one of the guys that I looked up to, and that was instrumental in shaping and supporting my firebrand ID when I was your age or a little bit younger than you. I wanted the world to change, and I wanted to change right now, this minute. And that's the kind of energy that I brought to everything. But it was the wisdom of elders like, Ray Island and Bill English and Bill Thompson, Kay Williams over at Sabathani in South Minneapolis, Harry Davis, Gleason Glover, a whole group of them were the pioneers that, first of all, understood how democracy worked. They understood the politics of culture and the politics of race and racism. They understood the grudge that white people would have at the thought of having to share or surrender power, or even to acknowledge that Black people were demanding and, in fact, insisting on a realignment, a sharing of power, and on our ability to speak our truth and speak in a way that reflected our interest, our aims, our vision, our desires for ourselves, our families, and our progeny, the ones that followed us. So he was an exceptional person. And the same happens with the level between your parents. And talk about them for a minute if you feel like it, because I think they deserve great praise as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's I like I said about myself, I feel like that has been passed down. And I mean, this is my mother's side, so that was passed down through my mother, into me, as well as all of my aunts and my uncle, and on that side of the family, it's that's the motive behind everything, uh, is that racial equality and racial equity is making sure that we are, on an even playing field. And so they've all have fought for that, in different avenues, in different lanes, but all of this with that being the center of the focus. Just a quick tidbit on my father's side. My father's side comes from Jamaica. My father's a first generation immigrant from Jamaica. So it, on that side, I feel like it's kind of similar, in terms of my family not being from America, and they come here and they're trying to learn how America really operates, really works, and they found their path, and so they have that same kind of fire and strength within them as well. And I think that just is the perfect storm for putting me in position to do things now, and to really understand. So now I got to the point of being at the age that I'm at now and asking the questions of what were those experiences like, to those that are still around, to my aunts and my uncles that moved here and had to kind of grow up in a new environment altogether, or talking to my dad about, what it was it like, to have a family that, wasn't American. What were the differences? What were the similarities to other Black families, even, because, I feel like there's a difference there. But all that, like I mentioned, comes back down, and then you have this perfect storm of now, I'm in position to really utilize my voice and vocalize, and to make change, to demand that same change that you were asking for as a young person, is what we're looking to do now, and what I'm looking to do now.
What part of Jamaica is your dad from?
Montego Bay. So my grandmother, well, I'll start with this. My grandfather from Montego Bay. My grandmother was born in Negril, but they settled in Montego Bay before coming to America.
Did you get down there yourself for a while? Do you know Jamaica?
Yeah, I have. I've gotten down there a few times. Most recently was 2016. But I treated that more as a vacation. I didn't want to do the whole going to where they actually lived in those neighborhoods. I've stayed away from that. I just kind of stayed on resort. So, but not too familiar with Jamaica, but I've been a few times.
Okay, good. Well, that's where my family is from too. You know that, right?
Yeah, I didn't. So,
We're from St. Mary, Jamaica. In the Ocho Rios area, we have property up in the mountains overlooking Ocho Rios. And we go back there. I haven't been lately, but we used to go every year, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. And our family story is that my grandfather is from a place called St. Anne's. It's another parish, place called Watt-town. And that's the area that Marcus Garvey came out of, right? St. Anne's. And they moved to St. Mary, which is where my grandfather and grandmother lived and married. And they left Jamaica probably around the turn of the century and moved to Cuba. And so my dad and all of his sisters and brothers, except for the youngest one, were born in Cuba, Cuban, speaking Spanish. English was a second language. And then they came back to Jamaica, I think in the 30s, maybe late 30s, because life was really difficult for them in Cuba. And the dream they had of being successful as farmers didn't materialize. It was really tough for them. And they were kind of looked down upon when they came back to Jamaica, because they and a whole bunch of other Jamaicans left the hard life in Jamaica. But it was like stepping out of the frying pan into the fire, because Cuba was just as hard, harder. But anyway, that's part of our story, and that's a wonderful thing. Just means you got a lot of spirit in you, man, from both sides of your family that you're standing on. I see my friend Al Flowers is here, and Deanna Smith was here. She's the new director of the Y. I'm glad she dropped in. I sent her a note back asking her to drop back in, because I'd love to talk to her. Still, once again, congratulating her for the leadership role she's playing and the support she's providing to you. But Al Flowers, brother, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. I a little jealous that y'all know where y'all can go back to. I'm still trying to figure out where I can go back to if I leave the country. So but that's no, that's just my little fodder. That was it. That was interesting. That was interesting story of where we come from. We come from all places. So I knew you had I knew that's what you talked about that, Al. So that was an interesting conversation, though. I like.
I'm reading this book. Brenda's in the background here. Brenda, I'm going to bring you in. Good to see you, Brenda. Just for you guys to know, Brenda and I were in kindergarten together. We both 74, 75 now. Been a long time. But this idea of connecting over a long period of time is a good idea. And so we enjoy working together now and producing conversations with Al McFarlane. But this is a book that I'm reading. I'll come back to it in a minute. I'm reading all of this guy's books. His brother's name is Aikwe Arma, and he's lived in Senegal since 1980. He's from Ghana. He's a philosopher, communicator, book writer, writing essays and also writing novels. But all of his work has to do with the concept around the emblem on this book, where my finger is there. That's an Egyptian language symbol called Per-Ankh, P-E-R, Ankh, A-N-K-H. And the Ankh is the symbol for life in ancient Egyptian writing. and the box around it is a symbol for house. And so the symbol is the House of Life, and that's the name of their publishing company that's published this book and a bunch of others. And Flowers, you mentioned the question of home. It just brought me back to the last page and paragraph of this book, where the guy talks about us understanding our history and knowing that we come from a tradition that predates what society wants us to use as the marking starting point of history. Our history is more extensive than that. I'm just going to read a paragraph. It says that, see, we've been around for hundreds of thousands of years. We've been holding a reasoned conversation with our past and future selves for millennia. We can choose to continue that conversation. We can leave to the short-minded the brief conversation proposed by Europe and its partner in crime, Arabia. Let them try to constantly become whatever those who hate us want to become. But our conversation will be about ways we have devised of moving into future time and space, knowing our past, planning our future. Last paragraph here. From the time I moved into that perspective, home, that's the word you used, Flowers, began to mean something larger to me. Family began to mean something infinitely greater than it had meant before. Brother, you're talking about family in this spirit, I think, but it means larger. Work took on meanings free of anguish, inspired with energy and reasoned hope. Friendship, you talk about your friends. Friendship flowed into the center of my life, where in the past, blood threatened to coagulate, choking my best thoughts to death. Last paragraph. I wake up now knowing where I'm going, with whom I'm walking, and into what kind of future we would like to go. I've found companions on the way, going home. That's part of this book, the last chapter, last words of this book. The book is called The Resolutionaries. Interesting because I remember at your age, I had considered myself a revolutionary, and Miles, me and the cohort, Brenda considered herself a revolutionary when she was 5 years old in the kindergarten. So we come up through the community, through fighting, through struggling, through all of the literature, but also the work on the street, the work in the community that has challenged the idea of white supremacy, of white supremacist thought, and that has always promoted this idea of Black people loving Black people and understanding that we are loved and we deserve love, and that we are our humanity is not negotiable. Period. We accept nothing less than people must acknowledge our presence and our right to be here, and that nobody can create this world without us, that we are co-equal partners in the writing of the future. So I share that just to keep that spirit. But Flowers, thank you for what you're doing, Al. You do wonderful work, powerful work in the community with helping support the Young People's Task Force, particularly this upcoming first annual Youth Summit. I hope Deanna comes back on for a minute, talk about what the YMCA is doing to support you. But you're doing work with the Safe Streets Minnesota and the Unity Community Task Force. Talk about those three, if you would, for a minute, Al.
Thank you, Al. No, boy, that was a good quote out that book, because it so said as we try to guide into the future, and like you said, we start off, we don't know what we doing, we just fighting, and that's the way I was. It was just everything was a fight to me, because I seen injustice. I knew it was injustice, and sometimes it's how you get there. and I couldn't understand sometimes with my bigger when at fighting it, because I know everybody seen what was going on, but why couldn't we stop it? And still today, why can't we stop it? And there's sometimes our unity and them figuring out ways not for us to come together. So going to the Young People Task Force, who's having a summit all weekend, a short day on Friday. They'll be opening up, talking about what they gonna do the rest of the weekend. But it's a lot about employment, trying to make sure that kids get work. They'll have teamwork there. They'll have other organizations there. We were talking about the union today to have opportunities for work. So that's one of the things we want to make sure that the young people are trying to make sure everybody works. Miles talked. I met Miles and them when they were like 13, 14 years old, and now he's 27, calling himself old. I laugh at that too, Al. They because what it is, they dealing with the young people 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, and they calling them old. They can't let that get to them. They got to keep doing their work. All those young guys are and women are under 30 years old, and just for them to put their time into something like this is a lot, Al. Plus, Miles and AJ, they got babies, they got kids, they working, and then they putting their time into this right here. They don't have to do it, and so whatever we could give them to keep lifting them up, like platforms like this, so they can talk about it. Nothing they're doing is in vain. It's not in vain. It's tough work, but you always say, Al, we get the misery, they get the money. We continue to be the one always suffering from these things. So with the Young People Task Force and the UCMT is a group of diverse people from the Native American, East African, Latino, GLBTQ, African American, white. We are all under this one umbrella trying to get justice with law enforcement. And so that's we giving Miles and them that experience. AJ Al Jr. had been around it his whole life. He's been around y'all. He knows y'all. Miles is coming out there, and Miles is a great candidate that may be your representative over there, your council person. He's interested in that, Al. So I throw that out there. He's interested in that, and so we gotta do what we can to help him be successful in representing our community. So that's what I got, and we got that from when he started doing this. And you can see it in him that he's thoughtful. He's more grounded than I could ever be, and he listens. So that's something that what we got out of him. No matter what happens here, that's something he got in his head that he wants to do. And I know you and myself and everybody else we can get. We're gonna help you figure out how to navigate the process to be that future leader. And he's a North. He lives right over there by you, Al. So okay. He's a North Side resident. We gotta push it. So that's what I get out of what we done did with the Young People Task Force and working with the mediation team. And when we talk about Minnesota Safe Street, I don't know if Deanna got back on a part about the YMCA building those collaboratives with organizations historically that haven't really been involved with our community to a high level, but now it's listening to us saying this what our problem is, and we need that support because it's kind of like they can block some of the stuff that they try to attack African Americans with, because that's what I think all of it is always African Americans that don't know what they're doing, and really it's not us that don't know. As I'm proving with Safe Street, we're proving with the mediation team. we got stuff for housing. We just got to bring it all together, Al, and we need those collaborative partners. We need those collaborative. We need the YMCA. Yes, stand here and help lift us. That's what they there for. So all those what we want to do is build institutions, whether Minnesota Safe Street, whether it's Young People Task Force. When Mal and them get through, lead that to young people so they can keep pushing. That's why they working with the younger people. So that's it. I'm excited about Miles and AJ and Nick, who's now going to be an EMT. I think it is a emergency worker going to be on the fire department. This was talked about before we started, Al. So we growing some things here that's going to really benefit us in the future.
That's wonderful. I was also reading another book I wanted to share with you and our viewers and listeners, because it's about Minnesota here. You know, a lot of times, Flowers, the people, even in our own community, say they get tired of you and Spike and me and others always talking about problems, right? And they act like if we would just be quiet, the problems would go away. But that's certainly not the case. But that's part of the conditioning, part of the narrative that minimizes and tries to marginalize our story, our humanity, and our opportunity. We have the worst disparities in housing, in health, in wealth, in education outcomes in the country. That, despite the fact that Minnesota is one of the richest, most successful, most well-educated, most wealthy states in the country, but even despite that, our communities suffer badly. So the question is it our fault? Is it just that we're not smart enough, or that we are not interested, or we are incapable? And the answer is no. So I'm going to share with you just a little bit out of this book I'm reading too. It's a book published here in Minnesota. The book is called Whiteness in Plain View, written by a white guy named Chad Montree. He's a professor in the history department at University of Massachusetts in Lowell. This is published by the Minnesota Historical Society Press. And so, you know, I'm saying that to say this is white people writing about white people in Minnesota and telling the truth. I'm going to read one paragraph off of the back of the book. It says, Whiteness in Plain View examines the ways white residents across Minnesota acted to intimidate, control, remove, and keep out African Americans over the course of the 19th and 20th centuries. Their methods ranged from anonymous threats, vandalism, and mob violence to restrictive housing covenants, realtor deceit, and mortgage discrimination, and they were aided by local, state, and federal government agencies, as well as openly complicit public officials. What they did was not an anomaly or an aberration, some particular place or passing moment, but rather what they did was common and continuous. So chapter by chapter, this book shows that Minnesota's overwhelming whiteness is neither accidental nor incidental, and the racial exclusion's legacy is very much woven into the state's contemporary politics, economy, and culture.
Al, can I jump in?
Go ahead, that's it.
Yeah. But I just want to jump in because what you said is so true about what they do when they say we might be getting on their nerve. And I figured it out. What the system do. That's why my argument is mostly with the government and saying, don't tell us what to do. We need to tell you what we need. We don't need you to tell us, because when we tell you and then you figure out a way how to say, split us up. I'm going to give you 50,000. I'm going to give you 25,000. I'm gonna give you 20,000. That's what they do just to the African American. They don't do that to everybody, but they do this thing. So with young people like Miles and them, AJ and them, that's out there working, that some think they know it all. They think they know it all. That young people, and they don't. And then when you tell them, "Hey, slow down," that's what they wanted to do. And then that's when the clash come, because we try to say, "No, don't go that way. We went already. We already been that way." Like some of my elder, Al, I ain't got to tell you. This is something that we did, and I fought against my own people, saying, "Hey, man, why y'all ain't helping with this fight when it wasn't a way to go?" And I didn't understand that. I understand that they wanted us to fight each other, and as long as I was doing that and I was hurting, arguing against black people, African American people, that was good for them. And then 4 years, once the mayor changed, if he changed, then they gonna change their whole thing. And then they want us to start all over again from what we done worked on for 4 years, or in some cases, like when Mayor Ryback was there over 8 years, and then when a new administration come in, say we gonna get leaders. They actually said this. This is some once the mayor said, R.T. Ryback said, "This is your leader." I mean, just point blank said, "This is your leader. These are your leaders." And I could still remember the day who he picked, and he didn't pick none of the people that was fighting. He picked people that he knew, and so what I say on that is that what we got to make sure do, we don't start over again. That's my motto now. No, we're not going to start over because you changed mayor, because you changed from R.T. Ryback to Bessie Hodges to now to Jacob Fry. We can't afford to keep starting over, and that's what they make us do. Every time we get in, okay, we got to do something different. After we've been working on this for 4 years or 8 years, then you say, okay, y'all need to come up with another plan. And we was the only community they did that to. So when you said that, divide more, trying to let the young people do what they do, and then try to advise them after that, and that's how we're gonna be semi-successful when we get that model in. But we got a lot of people that the system have already bought. Say, here, y'all are the ones we gonna speak to, and then leave some instrumental people out, like Pastor McAfee or something like that. They don't want to deal with them because they've been there so long. So I'm watching that part.
Well, I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's necessary to pay attention like that. And you are exactly right. The playbook, and that's what it is a playbook, is that I'll carry this ball for 8 years, and then when I leave, whoever follows me says, "Oh, I didn't know."
Right.
And that gives them the right to start over again. So over 20 generations, we get left on the side waiting for the truth to emerge. They know the truth, but they intend and they plan to, and their practice is a collaboration and a deception that includes institutions and public officials at the local, state, and federal level, all working to our disadvantage. And what you're saying and what Miles is saying, what we are saying together, Al Flowers, is can't go that way. We're not doing that anymore. And that we have a record, we are keeping the record, and we are changing the narrative. That's something you always say, creating new narratives that reflect our interests, our strategies, our point of view, our goals, and to proceed with the narrative, and knowing the truth of the matter is what we are seeking, in fact, is beneficial for all human beings, for all Minnesotans. We have not been exclusive as they have been. This is the documentation of their strategy of exclusivity. Our work has always been open, inclusive, and progressive. And so we keep in that tradition. So, Al, you heard the governor's, I think you probably heard the governor's uh, State of the Union. Uh, did you listen to that yesterday? Was it Sunday? Yeah, Sunday night. Did you listen to any of that?
Yes, I did.
Anything strike you in terms of uh, his acknowledgement or commitment to our community, to Black Minnesotans? What did you hear? What did you not hear?
I think we're going through a crisis in our community, as you said earlier, with the disparities, Al. And what I didn't hear from the governor enough about what we going through. I think, and that's another part of our problem. Everybody goes in and says that they finna help and fix our community and with different things, bigger people, lobbyists, and all of that, and that's who the governor listens to. And so, what I didn't hear enough with what we going through with the violence. I didn't hear enough how you gonna directly turn us into homeowners. Right now, we are when I talk about our community in rental. We're the big renting commodity with it, whichever way it go, and got some good initiatives out there that people are trying to move that we got to communicate. But I just didn't. I didn't hear him lift us up enough because I don't think if he say something about the crime that we going through, then he got to talk about what the Republicans want, and they want a lot of police. So he didn't want to. Say that. So he said a lot about getting to the root cause. What you said, the root cause, when you talked about the housing, Al, when you talked about historically what they did to us, redlining, historically what they did to us with the criminal justice system to make sure that we get a bigger sentence than our white counterpart. These things that we know, and that's why I don't never hear enough from them, but I have heard from us what you said about changing our narrative and taking it to the governor and saying this is what we got to have, and it's got to come from on the ground, from the community. It can't be the politicians because they got to. Even when we talking about the Rosa Parks African American Youth Development Center, they said, well, it's got to be the priority of Senator Champion or Representative Gaji, Representative Fu Lee, and it's got and so they try to shift the blame, but the thing they won't say about Al is you got $9.2 billion surplus. That's before your budget, and if we ask for 100 million, that shouldn't be too much for them to do the right thing by us, but they lump us in with everybody. So they say we'll do it to everybody. Everybody's not suffering like us. So when you ask me about the governor, I listened to it, but I know when he got through, we was gonna be fighting last night and this morning or this afternoon. What we doing right now to keep our people woke and don't let us start over again. And what's a campaign promise? What's a campaign promise, and where's your heart really at? And that's our problem within our community. So when you ask me overall, I knew I had to get up today, and I was at mediation this morning. We were talking about the summit that these young people are trying to get going, just to bring people in and put our people to work. So when I got through, I left there saying we got to get to work in the morning. Keep that pressure on them.
The legislature, how long does the session last? And we're in the wind-up days. What happens? What has to happen for us to ensure that the bills that support us and organizations get properly considered and funded? What do you think, Al?
I think we got to do what we're doing, and we've been out. We don't have lobbyists, but we've been at the Capitol. We've been at the Capitol for like 3 straight weeks. We We lobbied with Senator Tom Bach, who's now independent. He left the Democratic Party. We met with Representative Lee. We met with Republicans and Democrats all over at the Capitol, and we got to keep that pressure on because it ends. I think the week of the 23rd, May 23rd, that week there, then we got to keep the pressure on because when they go, they got a period where they gonna take all the bills and put them in a basket, and then we got to hope that those people that we give Senator Champion the support he needs, Representative Moran the support she needs, but at the same time we got to respect that they don't just represent us; they represent the whole district, and that's we just got to keep talking to the governor. That's what I've been doing. I spoke with the governor, and we're not gonna know nothing to the end. And I'm just hoping that our community, $9.2 billion, this state has of a surplus, and that's besides their regular budget. So we talk about maybe 14, 15 billion dollars out. What do that mean? Or whatever the state budget is, they got $9.2 billion extra, and we should be able to get what we want, but it don't always happen like that. That's why we got to keep our eye on it.
Miles, let's spend the last few minutes again inviting people to the event coming up, the Young People's Task Force. Go through that again and make the invitation.
Definitely. So the Youth Summit by the Young People's Task Force, hosted by the YMCA and Minnesota Safe Streets, will be this weekend. That's April 29th, Saturday, April 30th, and Sunday, May 1st. Open invitation for all young people. Open invitation for families to come out. Friday, we'll be doing a kickoff, a blast. It's a fun night for young people to come out to enjoy the different amenities from the YMCA, such as the pool. We'll have a DJ with the music. We'll have the recording studio open. So come out and enjoy that night. Pizza will be served that night. That's from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Saturday, April 30th, will be our informational session. So that'll be a financial literacy seminar. Young people have discussed with us that things like money management, is something that they're concerned of as they're going from childhood into adulthood. Investing, if they want to learn how to invest, they would like to learn how to, build credit or credit repair. Some things that will be discussed there will be formatted from a financial advisor. PJ Hill will be hosting that or leading that discussion, that seminar. And then we'll kick off or end that night with young men, young women building session. So things like bridging the gap to mentors and resources, and also discussing other issues that they see prevalent in their lives as they go from, again, childhood to adulthood. So it's an informational session to come out, and that's from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Light breakfast will be served as well as a light lunch. And then Sunday, May 1st, will be our job fair. Again, we ask that, our community of Minneapolis comes out to that. That'll be a job fair for young people, such as employers will be Teamworks, as they have open positions. Chipotle will be available. And it's not just an informational job fair where you come out and learn more about the positions, but you'll also be able to apply right on the spot. We'll have application assistance available. And so that goes into the whole details of saying, what identification do you need? How can we help you get that? Or filling out W-2s and understanding what those forms look like. So it's going to be a good event for information, also resources available. And then, again, kicking out Friday with a fun night. So that's this coming weekend.
So glad to hear it and glad to see you guys doing this. We're going to be promoting it through the week and also online at insightnews.com and through our social media. Dee and Brenda, any questions or comments, any thoughts about the conversation? Dee, what do you think?
First of all, I really want to read that book, the second book that you were talking about. That
Yep.
sounds
Yeah.
uncomfortably interesting.
Yep.
And as I'm listening to Miles and talking about the things that his group is trying to do, it kind of makes me worry a little bit less about what the future will hold. A little bit. It's a little bit of hope.
There you go. The world's going to be in good hands. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
But it means we still got to do our part. So we can't say we're turning it over. We have to do all we can do. And what we have to do in part is keep making room for them to do all that they can do. This is a long haul. I'm a part of this project. I'm getting into it. You'll hear me talk about it too much probably. But sister named Karen Hunter, Dr. Karen Hunter, and a brother named Dr. Greg Carr have created this social media project called Narrative, and you'll see me wear their gear. It's a hoodie. Narrative is spelled like the word knowledge, but knowledge sounds like an N, but it's spelled with a K, K-N-O-W. Narrative is spelled the same way, K-N-A-R-R-A-T-I-V-E. But this platform they're creating and saying they're creating it with the intent of setting something afoot that will be around for 500 to 1,000 years. And we simply don't talk like that enough. So, Miles, I think that what your group has to do is dream. Dream is one part of it, imagine is one part of it, trust your own judgment, your experiences, your lived experiences, trust what you see, and talk about it all the time. Talk about it with our children, with your 3-year-olds and your 5-year-olds. Uh, uh, you will be amazed at how much they understand the world and how much and you're not hurting them by telling them the truth, right?
Yeah.
And so, how do we get in the habit of changing the conversation among us, between us, so that we're focused on every step we take, we see it as a step towards the building of the world that we want. And that world, that proposition is a 1,000-year proposition. That's why I started off saying, Miles, that when I woke up at the age of 22 or 3 or 4, I was like, I walked out of my house and I said, dang, I got to change the world right now, on fire. And that's a good feeling. It's a good place to have. But what wisdom does and time will do is help you channel that energy into constructive things and help you know that overnight, in the context we're talking about, is 500 years. Overnight is 1,000 years. And we work with intention towards weaving a tapestry, creating a patchwork, creating a universe that allows all of us to be in a harmonic position with each other and with the natural resources of the world: water, air, minerals, agriculture, astronomy, physics, education, culture, art, creativity. How do we attune and train ourselves to be in a moment of consummate expression in all of those arenas at the same time? And that will be, as we say, how we roll. It's like breathing air. That's how, when we breathe, we're breathing at a cosmic level and breathing a breath that is attuned with eternity. Anyway, that's my soapbox for today. Brother Miles, I'm so impressed. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so thankful to you personally, but to your companions, your colleagues, the group of people that have decided that together you have both a right and a responsibility to show up and to make it happen. Flowers, Brother Flowers, kudos to you as always. The power and the commitment to representing and challenging and analyzing and building collaboration and resisting both things that are from outside, and sometimes the internal pressures that we have in our community, so that we don't get derailed. But listen, thanks all of you. Brenda, do you have any questions or comments before we close?
I just want to give commendations to Al Flowers Sr. When Al and I were growing up on 28th in Indiana and Kansas City, we had parents that advocated for us. And they also inspired us and told us what we could be. And we were in the middle of white flight. I just commend you for everything that you have done for young people, not only your children, but people like Miles. I enjoyed writing about him because these kids are powerful and they're inspiring another generation, and that's what we had. So my hat's off to you, Al Flowers Sr. Maybe one day I'll come to Minneapolis and be able to meet people like you and Peter Hayden and Youssef. Wonderful, wonderful, powerful, passionate community organizers. Al had a mother like that, and she would not give up.
She's still here. She's still around.
Until she was there. And then there was Tyrone Terrell, who I keep writing about because he says, let's go around and knock on doors and make for sure that just in one block, the kids, the elders are okay. So wonderful people, and congratulations and kudos, Miles, to your group.
Thank you.
With that, we're done for today. Al, anything else you want to say? Last comments?
Well, we got the ticket. I'm part of the Juneteenth Legacy Committee that we have every year for Juneteenth, and I got it in the budget, so you don't have to wait that long if you want to come if you want to come up here and be a part of our Juneteenth committee, unless you got something going down there that would prevent it. But I would love you to come up and speak to us around Juneteenth if you can.
Well, I think it's interesting because I told my friend, I said, I'll probably come up in June because I've never been to Minneapolis. And I've written about all these fabulous people, and I just want to meet them and say hello.
Well, we will get you our legacy committee that I am the chair of. You can come up and speak to us about Al and where about Tyrone Terrell and Al. No, we could work on that. I'll talk to Al and see if you're available that weekend of the 17th. This will be the first one after the official holiday was declared. So it's real important to me. So I'll talk to Al and let's see if we can get you here.
You don't want me to tell stories about my friends in Kansas City.
That's what. Yeah,
well, that sounds interesting. So, but anyway, kudos as a father and as a community activist.
Hey, thank you, and I will talk to Al about that. I got the ticket. The ticket. I just told you we got the ticket, so it's about when we can book it, and I'll work with Al on that.
Well. Whatever he decides, he's the boss. And I am in gratitude for that too.
Yeah. Let's do it, Al.
Yep.
Great.
All righty.
Once again, a great conversation. Thank you all. Dee, thank you. And Diana, we missed her today, but we know she's here in spirit. Brother Miles, again, thank you so much. Al Flowers, thank you. We missed Deanna Smith, but we'll get her back next time. And thank you all. I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.